Hello, and welcome along to episode 6? No, 5. Episode 5 of our main campaign, Soulforged. Today I have playing with me, Michaela.
Oh, hello, I am Michaela. I am playing Winona Barrelight, the Deep Gnome Rogue Artificer.
I never start with the first person, do I? So it always catches me by surprise. I have Jay.
Hi, I'm Jay. I'm playing Kylan Azarath, the Trident Bard Cleric. Yeah, woo, dab.
I have Josh.
Hi, I'm Josh. I will be playing Luca Wicks, the Fox Anthropomorph Drake Warden Ranger, with his BFFFFL Vero.
And I have Alora.
The L stand for?
Life.
The L stands for life.
Okay.
Best
I'm
friend
playing
for life.
Karina, the Chronology Wizard.
Who is not a Kalistar. That's do you know what? I still have no idea what race Karina is. She's an ASMR, right?
Damn it.
But I just know she's not a Kalistar.
She's not a Kalistar.
No.
His whole she was a Kalistar.
Yeah, I know. It's Thursday.
It's Thursday.
You can't have white hair and not be a Kalistar, fool. Do you know who I don't have with me? I don't have Jamal. Jamal was hit by 2 elephants riding a tandem bike. He's suffered a severe fracture of his left eyebrow and will return at some point soon, maybe if we're unlucky. Regardless, so I promised these guys a recap, and a recap they shall have. We started off long ago. Almost 18 months ago, I think. Is that roughly right?
Yes.
And we started off by being called for our various skills, be it our diplomacy, our ability to find things and investigate, our ability to shoot a bow, take a hit, or use unusual magic. We were called to rescue the princess, Grace, daughter of King Just of Arvenia. And we travelled all the way to Estrandia, and we got her. It was a short and interesting pre-campaign, and woo, she survived. Yay. Go on.
I have a question. When the
How
good
can you have a
people
question
are
about
called,
the pre-campaign? Go on.
when the good people are called Grace and Justice, should we just be on the lookout for evil creepy guy? I know that he's the BBG.
Yes, or slightly shady middle ground names like Discretion.
Us.
Yes, the BBEG of this campaign is called Death Incarnate.
That's helpful.
Something. So just ask everybody their name, you'll be fine. Anyway, so as heroes of the realm, we took a sabbatical for a year odd, and after which you received a request to return to the King's Court, and the reason why was there had been a letter. Well, it wasn't really a letter, it was delivered by way of raided personnel, hostage delivered to the beach, his arms cut off, and his body lashed and cut with salt in the wounds. But nevertheless, he was certain of his message. You could pay 10,000 gold, or you could have your hostages returned to you. This seemed like a really shitty deal. Like, why would you not pay 10,000? Why would you pay 10,000 gold? If you don't pay, you get your hostages back. But the king was a little bit worried, because the man was very fearful, and rightly so. He'd been very badly treated, and these raiders seemed incredibly coordinated and made people mysteriously vanish in the night. As you were traveling to the great town of... I should have put us on the map before talking. As you were traveling to the great town of Carve, you came across a man on the road who told you that the same problem had happened at a small town called Forge. The difference is that instead of having 2 weeks to make a decision, you had but 24 hours, and so you went to Forge and decided to see what happened if you did not pay the money. The prisoners were returned from Forge to the beach, and they appeared to have lost all connection, kinship. In fact, you described them as having no soul, as being little more than beasts that followed only their instinctive and immediate desire, though capable of deception and cunning and slyness. They were not capable of compassion, love, kindness, or even simple bonds of, care for their own children, or, hygiene, or the simplest things that are not just animalistic need or want. And even an animal will care for its child. These creatures would not. Nevertheless, the folk of Forge were determined that they would take their fellow town members in, and although they may restrain them, they would also look after them with love and care and hope to reteach them the kindness they seem to have lost, and remind them once again of the bonds they seem to have severed. Nevertheless, you guys had to go on to Carve, and you decided, well, that's what happens if we don't pay the money. We might as well finish this experiment and pay the money, because they said they wouldn't return our hostages if we did pay the money. But sadly for you all, they did return the hostages in tiny little pieces, body pieces, that washed up upon the shore, slowly to be identified sickeningly by the residents of Carve. This angered the residents of Carve, and indeed angered the king, but the city of Valaris, and indeed the entire country of Arvenia, has not the capability, not even to hit back at the raiders. You don't even have the capability to make contact, really. The raiders' isles are so far away, and the boats that Valaris and Arvenia have these days are small merchant ships that tootle up and down the coast. There aren't that many warriors, and realistically, the border troubles with Isgrandia are enough to keep majority of the soldiers occupied. Nevertheless, you gathered with the king and you decided what to do. And the first thing that was decided is on the small islands that line the east coast of Arvenia, you would have towers built. Where possible, these would be manned with soldiers and apprentice wizard who can use a sending stick to send a message in time of need. It turned out that these apprentice wizards were like 14-year-olds with nothing better to do with their life and rich parents. But hey, that's what they've ended up with. Tiny villages would be encouraged to join up with larger villages and towns to make them easy to protect, and soldiers would be posted along the coast at large towns and cities, ready to respond of warnings of raiders. And that included calling some soldiers back from Isgrandia. The king hopes that ships will be built for patrolling the coast. Karina's father and some others will attempt to make contact with the oldest shipwrights. There's potentially the possibility of using wood from the Mountain Kingdom. Their great tall trees age more quickly and are perfect for boat building. And to this means Prince Regal, the third in line for the throne, has on his behalf of his elder brother Verity beseeched the Mountain Kingdom for the hand of their daughter, Prince Ketrikan. Go ahead. I see a finger. I'm reading like 12 things. You can just speak, otherwise I won't know. What?
I don't want to interrupt you.
I won't know for ages until I change tab, otherwise. What's up?
So obviously we don't have the kind of boats that can travel long distances. How do people get to the Spice Isles?
For the most part, no, that's not anywhere near as far. In terms of the type of sea, the thing is with the Spice Isles is the seas are quite calm and they're quite warm and it's quite a peaceful journey. Karina's father owns a merchant ship that's capable of doing that, but merchant ships only need to carry goods and enough sailors to sail them. They don't need to carry soldiers or large contingencies of them. They don't need defensive weapons, defensive stances. Most sailors are not fighters, right? So you'd have to take sailors and fighters, which means a lot more men on board, bigger ships. And the seas to the north are far more stormy and desolate, so it's far more difficult to do. But regardless, the king has determined that these boats will be built. In the meantime, the Goliaths of Skeld, who are far to the north, are a little closer to the Raider Isles, and they're willing to take some of their small skiffs from near island over to the edge of the Raider Isles and see what's going on. Research will be done in the days long past, when King Wisdom apparently approached the Elderlings to stop the mind thefts from raiders. You have only one stone tablet to go on for that piece of information. Agents will be placed to try and see the way in which these raiders act, and if ransom notes occur in the future, all cities will refuse to pay, and any returning hostages will be met with chains, restraints, and kind but firm treatment. The king doesn't know how sustainable this is. Okay, at this point, you guys decided then to go with the Team Tower build onto the islands, and indeed you sailed to Near Island, the closest to the raiders. Well, you found the raiders themselves were trying to make foothold on the same island. You fought them off, battered them with big sticks, and told them to go away. And for the most part, you managed to kill the majority of them. But you did see a couple who escaped, and as they escaped, Karina watched them row into a nothingness. they disappeared whilst rowing out to sea. It was at this point you realize that they may be hiding their boats using some form of illusion, and indeed when you fought them they did have a lot of illusion magic to hand, and you found examples of scrolls and invisibility and greater invisibility and various illusions and sticks of fog cloud and basically a lot of deception tools. After fighting these enemies off of the near island and seeing the tower beginning to be built, a decent sort of wooden construct being put in place, you guys were called to the boat that was leaving to take some of the soldiers who would not be stationed here away, and yourselves. But as to where the boat would head next, the soldiers needed to be dropped to the coast somewhere, but as to where, it's kind of your decision. And
I remember now, there was a bandit chasing Laura around, right? For like half the fight.
Yes,
that happened
yes.
last episode.
Okay, yeah, I remember that combat now.
Okay, cool. That's good. I'm glad it was so memorable up until this moment. Nevertheless, as you are brought to this boat, Whistle sort of comes with you. If you remember, Whistle is the captain of the guard who has been assigned to your to the soldiers that came with you, and she is leaving with 6 of her party of 10, including Blade, who is the injured veteran soldier. You remember, he has an arrow through his neck. That although Kai was able to stabilize him, Kai couldn't remove the arrow as he wasn't entirely sure if he was going to die, as and when. And Blade sort of wasn't entirely sure he was willing for Kai to investigate as such. Although Kai knew that Blade wasn't going to die anytime soon, they didn't know who to contact on this sort of mission. So the aim was just to take Blade back to the shore and hope that investigations could be made. So there's Whistle and 6 returning with you, and the captain of this boat. The boat is called the Message, and it's a decent-sized boat. I think you've been on it before. Did you go out on the Message? Does anybody remember? Does anybody care? I think you went out on the Message. Regardless,
I don't recall.
I didn't have a name. I just had the ship.
Okay, cool. Well, this captain is called Ankeg. Ankheg.
Wow.
And he looks like a pirate. He acts like a pirate. He's got a saber and a tattoo like a pirate, but he does have 2 legs and no parrot. Nevertheless, his crew look mostly like 6 Dutchies folk, Arvenia folk. But it doesn't look like they're up for pirating. If he was once a pirate, he does not seem to pirate anymore. And indeed, he is one of the Royal Admiral fleet. I think the fleet consists of 12 boats. It's a good navy. Regardless, Anke greets you and... Hey ho! I understand that you are to tell me where to go. I won't sail you to the Raider Isles, but beyond that, if you wish to go up the coast... Up the coast! Why not? Let's change accent. If you wish
I like this guy.
If you wish to go up the coast to Skeld, and see what's up there, return to Ferriston, the nearest big city, where there are rumors that Duke Shemshi of Niven may need speaking to. I can also drop you down the coast back at Carve to see what is going on with those people that were returned. Apparently you might have some interest in that. I believe the Queen is making her way from Forge to Carve. You could perhaps join her. Verity's folk are at High Downs. Guys, you are on the map as well as me, right? Yes. Okay,
Yes.
Good. So I'm not just spouting random nonsense at you. Good. Well, I mean, I am, but you can read it, right? Verity, the king's second son, is at High Downs, and he intends to travel back to Valaris with some news that he has of Duke Brondy of Berwick. Otherwise, you could perhaps head all the way down to Valaris and return to the city proper, or even to Neatbay, where you know that, hopefully, if he's returned by now... I'm really sorry, I don't have a name for your father, Corinne.
Marcus?
Sorry, did somebody say Harvest?
I said Marcus.
Marcus! Yeah, that's better. Marcus is a much better name than Harvest. Well done.
Marcus Harvest.
Perhaps you should have just called him Captain in light of all the different names that these people have. Regardless, Captain Marcus, your father, was meant to be returning to Neat Bay, having investigated to the far south. He didn't go very far, really. He met with some contacts down in the south to send them onwards regarding shipwrecks. Basically, up and down the coast. Before Luca speaks, you don't know that Sorcerer's Isle exists, so you can't go there.
Remember?
You did remember, and then you tried to work out how you could go and just sail in that direction. And see if you
No.
could do it.
I got sorcerer anyways. I don't care. It looks like Azkaban anyways.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's really bad to not know his name. Is Galthak from Skeld?
Sort of. So Galthak, like all Goliaths, for the most part, his tribes are originally from the Ice Plains. Nevertheless, after a certain age, or if they're born into those tribes, most Goliaths who are a little bit more well-to-do or more successful, or perhaps just a little less tribal, make their way to Skeld. And indeed, Goliath? Yeah, sure. Galthak spent the majority of his life in Skeld, breaking heads and breaking bones. It should be worth mentioning, Galthak will go wherever it is most dangerous, or wherever is closest to Skeld, whichever comes first, but he is willing to defer to the party and protect thee who goes to place dangereux. One thing that is worth mentioning, there have been no more raids as yet, according to Ankeg, and his news is as of yesterday from the king and from Ferriston, so he's been up and down the coast. There were no raiders at Cole, Gull Island, Lands Rock, or Antler Island. All islands were found clear and the towers are being built. Sorry, go on.
Personally, I don't think we should go to Skeld without Jamal here, because I think that might be, have some cool roleplay stuff for him.
Yep.
My personal vote is to go see if the Queen's still alive and if she is a zombie yet.
What were the Goliaths doing? Were they sailing to investigate the Raider Island?
So there are a few Goliaths who were making ready to bring their skiffs. These are like small 2 or 3 man boats, right? And they're going to try and row them across the stormy seas from Near Island over to the Raider Isles. It's a very dangerous mission, but it's one that's they'll probably... I mean, Galthak will explain to you that like the 3rd and 4th sons who stand to inherit nothing and can only gain a tribal position by proving their bravery and strength in battle are likely to be the ones who are sailing over. Well, there's enough of them that if they lose them all to the seas, well, they lose them all to the seas. But they're brave and they will try. They're also going to sail off the very north point of Skeld to the very north point of what's called the God Runes. So if you remember, these Raider Isles to the Raiders are called God Runes. And some of these northern isles are rumored to be a bit more distanced from the main sort of mannerisms of the God Runes. So they may not be as involved in the raiding groups. They belong to no particular tribe. Not elk, nor bear, nor narwhal, or eagle.
What did you say was of interest in Ferriston?
So Ferriston is the closest. First of all, it's the closest city. So it would make sense just to sort of, that's a good place to go. When I say city, it's a very big town, I guess, is a fair way of putting it. 2,000 or 3,000 people living there, which makes it pretty large in this day and age, but far smaller than Valaris, which is probably 8,000 or 10,000. It is Duke Shemshi of Niven, who apparently there's been some trouble, but Ankeg isn't sure of the details. Duke Shemshi would obviously be at Rivermere, further into Niven, but you could get there from Ferriston fairly quickly. And indeed, that may be where he knows. It's also where the soldiers would most likely be dropped off because it's the nearest city. And there are the most taverns between Ferriston and Homeport in Valaris. They're pretty simple folk. Obviously, there's also the element that if you were just going to wait for a raid, Ferriston wouldn't be a bad place to do it.
Personally, I feel like we got to do like some research and investigating into these raiders. So I think we should definitely go to Skeld at some point, but I agree. We should wait for our Goliath friend to introduce us. But I do like what they're doing up there.
Yep, I mean, obviously, if you go down to sort of Forest and Highlands Forge, you can get back up to Skeld in only a sort of day and a half sailing. It's a fast ride up the coast. It's a fast sail up the coast. Riding there would take a lot longer, but obviously there's far lower risk of raiders if you ride there than if you sail there.
And you said Karina's father is in
Neat
Neat
Bay.
Bay?
Yeah.
Well, that's the opposite direction. Karina, what was your father investigating exactly? Do you know?
He's gone to the shipwrights to work with them in commissioning new actual warships.
Oh, that seems valuable.
But obviously
Yes,
he's
but
also
I
collecting
don't know
news.
that. I don't know that there's much that we could do there other than get information that he might have gathered. Which I could send him a message and he might be able to tell me whether he has gathered anything, even though it's rather limited in message length.
That's okay.
You do make a point, though, that obviously you can at least find out if it's worthwhile to go there. And he can give you information. Just don't break Dirk's stick to do it.
No, never. And where was the queen? That's where Luca wants to go?
Yeah, so the queen is making her way from Forged to Carve. She's basically
right.
looking after the Forged people. So if you remember, Forged is what we use to term the people who were returned hostages.
So I would say either Ferriston or Carve. And
Yeah.
I'm fine either way.
Okay. Kai, what do you think? You seem to have a casting vote.
Fuck.
I'm glad you're so desperate to go to a particular place. He's like, fuck, I just wanted to go to Land's Rock, damn it.
That's where the action is.
I mean, if you don't have a particular opinion on either way, then we'll go to Carve, right? Because I think both Winona and Karina have said they don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Karina, would you be interested in sending Daddy a quick text? Or, I mean, I'm more than happy for you to say that you would have done it, the night before, knowing that you would have had to make this decision.
Yes, of course I would have. I'm a very
Your-
smart person. I have an
Exactly.
intelligence of 20.
Yeah, you can keep your spells up, basically. It's not. I thought it was a ritual cast sending. Apparently not. That makes it a lot less good.
It does send across planes, to be fair.
Yeah, true.
That's pretty
Yes.
There is something you can use to contact people when you know where they are that is, at least, it seems less resource draining, but I can't remember what it is now. I don't know, maybe it's like level 7, like astral projection or something. Anyway, because that sort of works. Yes, if you had have sent to your father, what would you have said? Your numbers are up.
Hey Dad, any news from the south? We've secured Near Isle. Raiders using invisible ships, potentially. Be on the lookout.
Nice, 23 words if we include
But love you at the end. Make it an even 25.
Yeah, great. Love you. Is that all? He sort of. Have asked pirates if they can help, and found shipwrights to make boats, but we don't have enough wood. If I use the words, I have only got 5 words, I have run out of words. Hope you are okay, I think is where he's going to go with that. I don't think, I don't think he will necessarily understand the limitations on this communication format. Though I'm assuming he would at least have understood that it was only 25 words or that it was a short message. Yeah, that's sort of all he sends, is that basically he's secured shipwrights, but he hasn't got the wood. And neither does the king. That's implied, right? And he's asked the pirates for help. As to their results on that, you don't know yet. Yeah, that's pretty much what Daddy's got for you. So with that fucking useless piece of information, do you want to head to Carve? Well, it's sort of relevant, right? Because first of all, you weren't necessarily sure he was going to make contact with the pirates. He has. And secondly, now you know what the bottleneck is at making boats. It's wood. So it is useful
Regal
information.
needs to get his romancing on.
Well, the problem is, right, is it's not Regal who's trying to get married. It has to be Verity who marries. But as far as you know, something is preventing Verity from going himself, but you don't know what as yet. Anyway.
I wonder how kindly the king takes to random sendings in the middle of the night.
Well, I mean, the lovely thing about it is it's currently 10:30 in the morning. So it's the first morning of the third day. Oh, I see. You wanted to send the king a message the previous night.
It's fine.
Well,
I wouldn't have.
No, you wouldn't have, because first of all, I mean, obviously Ankeg has brought all the news the king has. Right, he's come from Valaris to you. So you're probably going to find out everything you already found out when Ankeg arrived. Regardless, as the boat settles everybody on, you're asked a couple of questions by Ankeg. First of all, do you mind if the soldiers are dropped at Highdowns, where Prince Verity is? And secondly, do you wish to stop there for a few hours and sort of drop in and have port time? Who's insightful? Is that a Kai thing? Yeah, cool. Kai,
Yeah.
give me an insight check on this.
Dang, 14. Shit.
He phrases it in a manner that almost feels like a request. He's almost asking you to stop at Highdowns, but he doesn't. I mean, it's not actually stopping at Highdowns, right? It's stopping at the coast near Highdowns. He's almost asking you as if it's something that he wants, the captain, right? Seeing this, you kind of realize that maybe since the day of the raid, which is now 2 weeks and 4 days ago, he's been like sailing up and down the coast, and 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 the man just wants a hot meal, a bed, something, I don't know, some shore time, basically. Is what you get the impression of. And so he says, are you willing to stop at Highdowns for the day, or at least drop the soldiers there? That's up to you. A day, an hour, your choice.
Blade is still like lying on the floor with an arrow half through his neck,
yeah,
right?
which is why Whistle wants to get to Verity, who has the largest contingency of soldiers and likely the best priests with him. So that's why she wants to stop at the coast near Highdowns and then maneuver Blade across. But whether you stay there for an hour or a day, the soldiers will get dropped off either way, so the hour or a day is purely up to you guys.
I mean, I'm a little interested in what's keeping Verity.
Yeah, what could it hurt?
Okay. Cool. So as the ship you see this sort of sigh and smile of relief from Ankeg, and he's like, you hear that? He talks to his crew. We're in port for the day. There's huge cheer from every sailor who's been stuck on this damn boat for 2 weeks and 4 days, like looking at port, but not going there. And indeed, as the boat stops in at Highdowns, what you can't see on this map is that there is a tiny little river that leads a fair way towards Highdowns. It doesn't get all the way to Highdowns, but at least it allows you to, it's a surprisingly deep river, and if I think Karina will know that it's clearly been dug by man. This river's been sort of dredged out to allow boats as far in as possible. It looks like it was an attempt to bring the harbour all the way into Highdowns, but it was abandoned for some reason. As the boat docks in, it's you guys are able to sort of alight. You're at a sort of small harbor town. It's, I don't know, maybe 100 people, a few small sort of shacks, buildings. Some of them look like they're governmental buildings, effectively. There's a little outpost with 2 guards there, one of whom salutes Whistle as she arrives. There's a little shop and a couple of villages. You're approximately an hour's ride from High Downs, maybe 3 hours walk.
Wait, so the ship is not there?
What do you mean?
Like the ship is not? Oh. High Downs is not on the actual
No,
coast.
so as I was saying, like there's this sort of harbor that's dredged inwards, and they've tried to get it all the way to High Downs, but for some reason they stopped sort of a mile or so into coast, and there was still another 6 or 7 miles to go. They were trying to. This thin river still goes along, and I suppose you could potentially like commandeer a small boat, but it's like a stream almost. You know, you're gonna have to get out and get back in it as often as it's gonna make it almost completely unworth it. Unworth it. Yeah, we're gonna go completely not worth it. Regardless, yeah, they stopped dredging the stream and left it as it is, whether it's just manpower or something else. So an hour's ride or 3 hours walk you are from High Downs in this small little harbour village. Wessel sort of heads up to the guard's office, and you see 2 horses are provided to Whistle, who strings up a sort of litter between the 2. Horse is a bit of a excessive word for these animals. They're draft horses or work horses. They're not sort of great riding stallions, but they'll do the job, and a litter is suspended and Blade is laid in there. Obviously, I'm assuming Kai, you'd be overseeing that right up until the moment that Blade is sort of comfortably in. And then Whistle chooses 2 of the younger men and suggests that they take Blade, and that she would overtake them on the road.
Oh.
Which you assume she's got a horse somewhere here, or can get a horse.
A secret horse. Are there horses for us?
Right, so, yeah, as you look at this guard building, it does have a stables. That's where the 2 draft horses came from. Maybe. Nobody seems to really care what you guys are doing. They're not like, nobody's like serving you or paying attention to you.
That's good, because I'm just in the middle of the street casting ritually Phantom Steed.
Yeah, you're sort of 10 minutes of chanting away, and everyone's just like, yeah, whatever, do you. The sailors are glad that they've got onto shore and are sorting themselves out. The soldiers are doing soldier things and basically paying no attention to anybody other than themselves. And apart from a small kid on the side of the road who, if you look out the side of your eye, Karina, you will notice that they are standing sort of in line with you and copying your hand movements. But they're talking complete gobbledygook, and they're about 6 years old. Apart from that, there's sort of nobody really out and about.
Well, we should probably try to get horses. Should stop at the guard
Okay.
tower.
Yeah. If you head up to it's just a guard post. It's like it's a glorified tent. And there are 2 seats and a little campfire in front of it. It's been raining most of the day from what you can see. Everything is wet. The guards are wet. Their seats are wet. The tent is wet. It's miserable out here. Yeah, he's sort of... one of the 2 guards salutes you. And, good day for a swim. How goes it? Can I be of assistance?
I'm sure you've heard of us. We're the heroes of the realm, and we would very much appreciate if you could help us. We're looking for a few steeds to get us on our way.
I Whistle had said you might have a need, and he sort of gestures towards Galthak and is like, "I have some steeds, but whether they'll be worthy." They're really plough horses. We've commandeered them from one of the nearby towns that... Well, actually, they've abandoned them. It's quite sad, really. One of the nearby towns at the coast abandoned the whole village when they heard news of what had happened to the south and headed to High Downs for shelter.
I'll look to Galthak and look back to him. He's his own steed. That's fine.
You're gonna make him run alongside?
He's done it before, right? So you're in need of 2 horses, is that right? 1 for Luca, 1 for Kai.
That's fine. Yes, I can hitchhike on the Phantom Steed, right?
Yeah, pretty much. At this point, Winona's just sort of like passed from horse to horse.
Yeah, whichever is most convenient.
Yeah, so he
can take turns.
finds 2 plow horses, and there's a little mule, which he sort of leads outwards. And if you have stuff needing traveling, or perhaps in gestures towards Winona, the mule could do with being delivered up to High Downs. It's not much use to us here.
They want us to take this mule?
Yeah, but it does look like a vicious little creature.
What? No.
If you get the time, I mean... Also said you might be able to help.
And you...
Does anybody wish to try and handle said mule?
I was gonna say, who is good with animals? Because it ain't me.
Cough, Galthac, cough. Somehow.
It is probably
Galthac.
Galthac.
Galthac used to lead pack animals up in Skeld. So yeah, I was reluctant to have Galthac do it, but I think that's likely, you know, and also he can just sort of smack it a lot, and keep with it and just punch it in the right direction. Let's find out how good
Pick
he is
it up and carry it.
No, he's not that. Yeah, with a 15, he'll get the mule walking, and in typical Galthac form, will say nothing. He just starts leading the mule towards High Downs, and probably ahead of you guys, just so that he can get going, right? Because it's a long walk. So yeah, you guys are able to then ride to High Downs.
Poor Galthac.
Winona and Karina upon the watery steed.
Mm-hmm.
Yay!
Does watery steed have a name, or does each different one have a different name?
Ooh.
It's a lovely name in Celestial that I don't speak, so...
Ah.
Not translatable.
Karina speaks, I just don't.
Yes, okay. It sounds like one of those glorious... It's literally like when Arwen is summoning the waves, right?
Yeah,
yeah, it's
totally.
that sort of name. It's just like...
It's just the
rolls
Celestial word for horse.
endlessly, It's beautiful. Oh, is it? Yes, okay. It's probably Nimrod then. Anyway, yeah, you guys are able to ride up to High Downs. And once you get to High Downs, you'll immediately see that there is an argument going on between 2 guards and a large group of people outside. One of whom is waving a pitchfork around angrily like they're looking for the local ogre. Yeah.
Oh, are they mad at Galthac? Is he
No,
here
that
yet?
hasn't got there yet, no.
Okay, I was just making sure they
He's a little
weren't.
way back. He'll be here when
They
he
weren't
can.
trying to run him out.
No, Galthac isn't here yet.
Okay, well, what are they hooting and hollering about? Let's get a read on the situation.
Okay, go ahead, give me a perception check, or... No, actually, I think you can hear everything. Give me an insight check.
Oh, okay. Say, not too bad. 21.
This might be wrong. Okay. Yes, that's the wrong one. There we go. One of them plays the James Bond theme, and the other one does some peaceful background music. And I'm never sure which one's which.
Whoa, this town is cool.
It's not quite James Bond theme, but it's close enough. Anyway, yeah, so these are the people of the town that was abandoned. You're probably walking their mule and their horses. The town on the coast, it's sort of small enough that it doesn't really have a name. But it's got this sort of casual name, Haven, is what a few call it. It's just sort of a place where shelter is. But there's 80-odd villagers here. And High Downs is a big walled city, right? It's one of old, which used to be when the 7 duchies were separate, and there was many a fight and a war in these places. Thus, there is walls and a gate, and it is indeed outside the gates that this argument is happening. And it seems like the captain, or whoever it is on the gate, is refusing entry to these people.
Oh, it's like a big group of people
About
trying
80.
to get in.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Can we hear like what they're saying as we get close?
They demand shelter and safety.
Demand?
Yeah, and the soldiers are sort of going, we've got nowhere to put you. No arrangements have been made for this. We don't just have homes we can turn over. Duke Shemshi has said that we're not to shelter refugees in the big cities. Duke Shemshi is the Duke of the duchy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he's basically saying, you know, there's no precedent for them just like letting you in. Like, what are they going to do? Yeah. So, and then the townspeople are going, we have a right to be safe. Why should we be left on the coast for our families to be taken away from us and brought back as nothing less than beasts? We've heard the rumors their souls are taken away. Why should we have to put up with that? I don't see you guys coming down to protect us. It's okay for you guards standing outside the city. We're totally safe, 3 hours from the coast. But what about us? Our livelihoods are on the coast. You know? This is the argument that just continues and continues.
I mean, strong points being made.
Yeah, how do we feel? What do we think?
We can...
Also, let me just make a sort of here. Okay, so what you have is... okay, this is sort of weird because the walls are at the back. This is inside the town, right? We're outside the town, but it is one of these sort of great towers. It's a very sort of traditional old martial town. So if you imagine there's two great sort of wooden doors with a little moat sort of behind them, and then another set of guard towers behind. So there is no way of going through without but the big doors being open. Sorry, carry on.
Oh, we should just let him in, right? My gosh.
Are we able to make our way to the front? Where the guards
Yeah,
are?
I mean, it's fair to say that you guys look quite important, and people will just sort of separate out for you all.
Thank you.
Especially as you're riding horses, you're bigger than everybody else. Yeah. Okay. And as you push through, the guards sort of you and I know you. Sort of points to. Mostly people tend to point at Galthak, but Galthak isn't here right now, so he points to the next largest person, which is probably the water horse and Karina and Winona. You're Karina and Winona, right? And Kai and Luca and the dragon. Little dragon.
Wow.
You're known throughout the realm, right? Rescuers of Princess's daughter. First offenders.
Mm-hmm. Good. We're getting some
The
respect.
guard sort of looks at you and you'll tell these people they can't just waltz on into the city and expect somewhere to shelter, right?
Why are you refusing them entry?
Duke's orders. There's nowhere to put them. There's 80 of
How
them.
many people
We've got
live
6
in this
rooms
town?
in the inn. About 2,000?
Oh my gosh.
Your people aren't willing to take guests in times of urgency?
Lots of them have family down at the coast who've already come up and seek shelter 1 by 1, 2 by 2. You know, a couple of the members here may even have families inside who will take them, but not all of them. You know, and they don't just want to be sheltered. They then will need feeding. They'll need watering. They'll need enough money to survive. They'll need cleanliness, and how many more? And how many more villages on the street? The Duke says no. I've got a duty to the Duke.
I think we should speak with him.
It's a long ride.
He's where we're... Oh, wait, no, he was in the other town.
No, this is the... Sorry.
He's in Niven.
Yes, I've just realised. Highdown's is not that Duke. It is.
Different.
It's Duke Brondy, because you're in Berwick, right? Yeah, and Duke Brondy is at... Oh, God, that's a long way. Yeah, is at Eastcliff. I'm not going to lie.
He won't know for a very long time, is
I've
what I'm
made-
hearing.
I've made a mistake here.
Uh-oh.
Because I'm thinking you're in Ferrest, and then you're not. You're in Highdowns, and Verity's here. All right, if you had have gone to Ferriston, you would have had that encounter, but you didn't go to Ferriston.
Well,
Because there's no
looks
way I
like
can
it
fix this
solved
in this one.
itself.
It has solved itself. I'm really sorry, guys. My mind just broke.
Heroes of the realm, save the day again.
Yeah, basically, you had heard that Duke Shemshi was causing a problem, and that was the problem, right? And you will probably find at Highdowns that there are some refugees trying to make their way in. But we'll say it's those very refugees in that town. And then Prince Verity will come out of the city and sort of look around. And you see immediately he looks worn, tired, unhealthy, maybe?
Goodness.
Yeah, he's not looking great. Karina, you'll remember Verity as a fairly broad-shouldered man. Dark of hair and rich of voice. Sort of quite tall, but quite stout. He looks thin. You see a few grey hairs in his hair, which is worrying. He's not even in his 30s yet. He sort of walks almost with a stoop, and as he looks around, what goes on here? Ah, Lady Karina. Hi, Luca, Winona. What happens here?
You tell us. Wait a minute. Your Highness.
Yeah, and he doesn't
You look
know,
a little...
but the guard sort of turns to him, and well, these people from the town down the road are seeking shelter, and he sort of, understandably so. My father has said they're to be sheltered at the larger towns, and so, well, we'll have to put up some temporary shelter or something. Go into the general store in town, and he sort of hands the guard a pouch of gold. And go into the general store in town, purchase as many tents as you can, as much shelter. See if you can find a couple of construction workers, get them to come and build out some shelter for these people. We'll have food brought down for you all, as soon as we can, on the Crown's purse. Stay well and don't panic, but you want to understand, you can't just come straight into the walls. There's a lot of people in the city. It's best to keep things organized. And then he sort of turns to you all and, do you have news? Do you want to join me, maybe, for... I have a house in town.
Yes, let's go sit down. You look
Come.
a bit worn out.
And as he begins to walk, you'll see a man sort of step in, sort of a foot or two behind him. Oh no, I've done that thing again. There we go. Yeah, as you enter into the town, you'll see a man fall a couple of steps behind him. The man looks, he's dragonborn for a start. Sort of deep red dragonborn. You don't see many of them, and those you do, you see a long way from here, usually up in the Mountain Kingdom. He seems a little servile, maybe, or servantile. He sort of steps in 2 steps behind and walks behind his lord, and he turns very quietly to Karina, and you see a slight gesture of his hand, and then Karina, you hear this sort of whispered voice. The lord is very tired. He's been attempting to scry for news of Ratus. You can, of course, reply as per message.
He looks a lot worse than just tired. Is something else going on?
He's been at it all day. And he has dreams in the night. Visions. He says that we must protect the people of the town. That the people of the country. And that if he sees them coming, we can stop them. He's got the fleetest of soldiers and fastest of riders. He just sits there all day, all night. A large pool of water in front of him, scrying. Scrying constantly. He sent Regal in his stead to court his bride. Says that nobody else can do this work. You have to convince him to stop. He's running himself down to nothing.
We'll just nod.
Mm-hmm. And sure enough, Verity shortly afterwards sort of lets you in. to this sort of townhouse. It's a fairly plain, boring townhouse. It doesn't look like it belonged to anybody fancy or special. There are much fancier and more special towns about. Houses about is what I was looking for. But regardless, this place seems like it was abandoned. Now taken over it. You see a older female guard in the corner. She looks to be in her mid-50s, but incredibly fit. She's wearing a well-fitted leather jerkin and has a sword at her side. The Dragonborn sort of makes a nod, and Verity looks to the Dragonborn and says, "Sharon, can you perhaps tea? They've travelled a long way." Certainly, sir.
Did he just call that Dragonborn Sharon?
No, Charim. Like Charim, almost.
I was going to say that's an awfully common name to be naming a Dragonborn Sharon.
The Dragonborn is also male, red, and about 6'4". He would make a very bad Sharon. Nevertheless, and then he looks to the guard in the corner and, "Hod, can you secure the outside, please? Keep it quiet. Nobody's to disturb me unless it's an emergency. Thanks." And after, he waits and sort of, "So how was your trip?" You can see he only wants to make small talk before Sharon has served.
Oh, it was lovely weather.
Were you successful? Is there now a tower near Ireland?
There will be shortly.
Yeah.
That is good. The boy. Dinkin Kirk.
Dirk.
That's
Did
the
you
one.
call him Cook?
He called him Kirk and Dern, and he wasn't sure of his name because Verity's not sure of his name. I know his name's Dirk, right? But Verity's not
Okay.
so sure.
I was like, don't use those words.
Yeah. No, he's the son of Jürgen, a friend, a nobleman. He's a good lad. He's stationed there, right?
Yes.
And he has the stick my father secured, right?
Yes.
Okay. We have ways of getting messages to him. Excuse me, one moment, and he sort of, "Hod, send in Burek." And after a while, sort of gentleman comes in. He's about 5'2", thick set, really sort of brawny guy. Eyes as black as night. His hair's a little bit disheveled. He's got a bruise on the side of his face like he's been in a bar fight. And he's got dust and hay down his somewhat, expensive leather armor. Verity sort of looks at him and, "Burek, you're a mess." "Sorry, sir. I was tending to the horses. The townsfolk are going to need them. But what can I do for you, sir?" "It's time. We need to get Farrak back out. The tower is raised at Near Island." And he turns to you all, and Burek is actually my elder brother's man, but he's in my service at the moment. He's in charge of the messenger horses. Falric is a messenger who is capable of receiving certain magical messages. To understand, those wizards call it sending. Is that the case? And he sort of looks at Karina for confirmation.
Who nods?
"I need to be able to contact Dirk out at the island. We need to have two-way communication. It's important. Burek, get the message sent. Thank you." Burek sort of looks to you all and doesn't show any sort of deference or respect like a lot of the other servants have. And doesn't he sort of forgets to bow to Verity as well. And just sort of, yes, walks out.
Ooh. Okay. Is that like a sign of him not respecting this guy?
Give me an
Or
insight
is
check.
it...
What do
'Cause
I
he
get
said-
off passive? Just my passive.
Ooh, good idea.
Yeah, I think
Passive's
I think your passive
probably
is-
higher.
Yeah, but let's see what Winona asked the question. Let's see what Winona gets.
Yeah, there's like a weird social interaction going on here.
You know,
16.
So I think Winona and Kai, you would both realize pretty quickly that, first of all, Burek is older than Verity by a good 7 or 8 years. Also, Verity and Chivalry were quite close, the two older brothers. So there may be more of a friendly relationship between Burek and Verity. Not only that, but Verity almost showed some deference to Burek, as if like maybe Burek is just really good at what he does, or perhaps he's just got the respect of him man to man. And you will notice that even with Hod and with Sharam, Verity seems to regard his sort of servants as closer to friends, perhaps, than he does as sort of servants. He treats them well, and they treat him well in return. He seems well respected and well liked. It wasn't that Burek didn't show you any respect because he doesn't respect you. It's because he didn't feel the need to be deferential. Anyway, so as he sort of wanders off, Verity sort of looks at you and, sorry, that man, no idea of how to dress for an occasion, but he's good at what he does. So, thank you, Sharam, as the tea is poured in front of you all. It's a lively tea, but you notice that Sharam serves Verity out of a different mug. Out of a different pot, sorry. Does anybody know much about herb lore, or poisons or herbs or anything like that? Is anybody proficient in nature? Nope. Cool. Yeah, it smells like something bitter and slightly. It doesn't smell like it's going to taste good. Your tea, however, is a lovely sort of enlivening mint and jasmine. Indeed, as you take a sip, you will find that it's made beautifully. It's very tasty. And Sharam sort of, I'll bring some lunch soon, sir. And heads out of the building to do so. Verity relaxes and says, oh, we're alone now. So, did you encounter any raiders?
Oh, yes.
You?
What do you make of them?
Quite strong. Both in, like, physical fighting as well as magic, which was surprising.
Their magics do seem strong, don't they? Do you think magic is how they separated these people's souls from their bodies, if that's what they've done?
Can't think of any other way. But they themselves almost seem to be severed.
The raiders?
Those that we encountered.
All of them, or just some?
Hard to say, but
No, it's quite easy.
quite likely.
Just a reminder, there is one person you saw that was not in any way sort of distant or severed, and that's the guy who went invisible, right, and spoke to you. And the bard that taunted you, both of those seemed perfectly connected and normal.
Every other raider was like,
the wizards,
to the death.
The wizards, the illusion-y wizards, didn't seem particularly immune to pain either. It was only those that fought you with weapons that seemed that way. And if you relay that information, as I thought, it seems like they've got some sort of partial version of what they've done to our people, done to some of theirs. I've seen them on their boats, rowing like nothing will stop them, all in perfect concert, yet all with no emotion. I thought the Godrunes people, what we know of them, they were once very emotive and emotional people. But these people, they seem blank.
Well, it probably goes boss, then under him goes generals, and they're all normal. And then under them are the goons who are like affected, and then the goons go and take people who then get affected.
Oh.
Yes, I would imagine it's something like that. Josh, why are you reporting from a waterfall?
It's my mug of sparkling water. You can hear the bubbles. It's ASMR.
I was so confused. I was like, I'm sure this is my house. Not like mine, as in like I own it and you don't, but like, what on earth is happening over there that I'm missing out on?
I'm making it feel more
atmospheric.
Yeah, I'm setting the scene more.
Goes over the music.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Verity has a fountain, a lovely fountain in his home.
No, he really doesn't. It's a very plain place, plain wooden table, and indeed you will see this sort of large pitcher full of water in the center of the table.
Ah, sparkling water.
No.
Permission to speak frankly, Your Highness?
Always. And don't your highness be here, Verity'll do fine.
Okay. You look like garbage.
It's draining what I've been doing, but I don't know of anybody else who has the skill.
It's extremely high-level magic.
No, it's not the same as what the wizards do, or so says the court mage. He says it's not like your version. You can set a place or a time in mind and see it clearly. From what I'm to understand, and it's a performed magic that lasts a period of time. No, I float in, as if half in a dream, peering into a veil of darkness, occasionally getting glimpses of what I seek, and occasionally seeing glimpses of other things. Our people, and people like them, but not our people. Bereft of any emotion or hope, hurting each other and seeking pain with each other and showing no kinship. People tortured on boats, forced to do things they don't want to do. I see a terrible, terrible, eyeless creature shouting orders from a huge white ship that can't exist, it's too big. I see dreams and visions and hazy images. Nothing clear at all. I don't know of anybody else with the gift, or I would have them do it and go to my bride as a man, instead of sending my younger brother and sitting here like a cripple. I would love
So
to
this is a special ability he has. He's not casting magic like Karina
he's
does.
not casting any magic at all. He is quite simply like, you've heard many tales of this, of people being able to scry images in water. It's usually associated with like hedge wizards and stuff. It's a bit mystical, and it's not really thought of as being very accurate. And indeed, it's not very accurate. He's telling you that immediately. He will also tell you that he gets dreams and visions, and has done since he was a child. His father always found that focusing his mind was the best way to cope with this. So Verity spent the majority of his teenage years and adult years soldiering, and captaining the soldiers, because the sort of rigmarole of a daily routine and exercise and focusing on simple individual facts. Verity's been astounding at managing the border issues at Iskrandia, because his mind was so focused to block out all that happens otherwise. But upon seeing the image of a boat coming to the shore shortly before it happened at Carve, since then he's done nothing but stare endlessly into the water. Find me somebody else that can do this, and I won't. But till then, this is what my father deems.
You'll kill yourself.
Perhaps, for the good of the people. This is what my father deems the best use of my time. I'm to be brought in a litter like an invalid to Valaris the day after tomorrow.
You dying helps nobody. You
Doesn't it?
refocusing your mind and going to marry your princess so that we can get the trade goods that we desperately need to build ships is what we need.
Wood. Would that we had enough wood. Ridiculous. Marrying a woman I don't know for wood. And for what? By the time the boats are built, we could lose our entire coast. Do you know how long it takes to age wood for a boat? You can't make a boat with green wood. Karina, you must wait for it to age, and that, even with the aid of all of our magicians who should be focusing their efforts to deterring the raiders, will take at least 6 months. 6 months! In 2 days we lost 52 members as hostages. Or as dead.
Then what do you suggest we do?
I don't. I suggest that we do as my father decides, as he is wise and just as his name is, and he will expend his resources as he deems fit, and I am one of those resources. If it was me, I would choose to face these raiders sword in hand, manned along the coast with every soldier we could muster, ready to put them down, blood in the dirt. But it is not my decision, and I will be expended in this manner until my father says otherwise. I appreciate the news you brought. I'm sorry. He takes another sip of the tea, and the tea makes me a little sharp. It's just so tired.
Have you thought about channeling the power of your third eye into like a crystal ball or tarot cards.
As a child, the court mage had me try everything. All sorts. Mirrors, unusual devices, crystal balls, strange books, wooden tablets, magical scrolls. They'd have me drink unusual drinks to try and have further dreams. They'd have fever dreams. They would raise my fever up and then bring it down with drugs. Trust me, they've tried everything, and apparently, thank goodness, high stimulants and a bowl of still water seems to be the best way of getting the most out of my powers. If that is what we're going to call them, I call it a burden or a curse.
Why is it a burden or a curse?
He sort of gestures towards his sort of withered face and the state of him, and it's a poor way for a man to fight.
But whoever... Not everyone needs to fight, you know. Also, just a little bit of, you know, warm water in the morning will clear all that up. I think I don't have skin.
He smiles one at you, and he sort of... Thanks, Loco, but I don't think it's that simple.
Do you only say that because you don't want it to be that simple?
You think I want this?
I think you're accustomed to it. And accustomed to looking at it in this way. Maybe if you shift perspective a little bit, you'd realize that it is a form of fighting if that's what you want to be doing.
So says my father, but I would far rather lead men into battle than waste away while another man seeks my wife. Anyway, my feelings are not important. If you wish to change what is happening with me, 'tis my father you would need to speak to. Well, just is just does, as they say. You're headed somewhere from here.
So what time's lunch?
Sharam said he'd be back with it shortly. I'm sure he'll come as soon as he is. He's a good man. Where are you headed from here?
We were on our way to find your mother.
Yes.
Oh, yes, I hear my mother has upset my father greatly by going amongst the people and looking after them with her own hands. Goodness, how that must gall him. She always was her own woman. I'm sorry, I speak ill of my father. My father is a good man, but he likes to control every strand, every neck, like a spider in a web. Sometimes it's better that we act with our heart, with our impulses, and do what's right and what's kind. That's what my mother does.
I find it hard to picture the man who I saw so worried about his wife being okay with what you're doing.
Well, perhaps he has only one wife, and yet he has 3 sons. Perhaps I am far more expendable. Chivalry was always the one that did all the right things, and is the heir to the throne, and is correct to a fault. And Regal, of course, is Regal as his name is, most perfectly charming and handsome, and pretty Regal with his small, tidy dancing feet. Not capable of wielding a sword, for he is too light, so instead he was trained in the art of the courtier. Such a lovely, wonderful son for my father to spend his days doting on. Yes, perhaps he has enough sons, and daughter indeed as well, a beautiful daughter, most dutiful to her beloved father. Also, he sees it. If only he... No. Never mind. Sharon will be here shortly with lunch. Please, give me a moment. I must use the privy. And he sort of heads upstairs to the bathroom and leaves you all to Sit freely. And Sharon sort of almost incidentally, at almost identical timing, sort of walks in, a steaming haunch of lamb, and puts it on the table and turns to you all. Did you convince him to stop?
The only one capable of that would be his father.
It is his father that tells him to do it. Dead Prince.
The king know?
Yes. The king knows.
Not right.
Perhaps. It is not my duty to say so. I apologize. And he puts the lamb on the table, and you can see, like, he wants to say so much, and he just walks out. Good servant as always. Dinner's lovely. Sorry, go on, Luca. Go on.
I'm gonna lean into the table to like be closer to the party. Please tell me we're not gonna be dragged into this family drama.
Oh, no. Within reason. He's got a serious middle child thing going on. But is it? I mean, do you think it is overall for the greater good that he is pushing himself so hard?
Sorry, just to clarify, the royal family are humans, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
As close as is possible. There are rumors and tales that you have heard, and Karina most certainly would have read, that long in the past they mingled their blood with another being, another creature. One calls these the
Variant
elderlings.
humans.
Did you say variant human?
Yep.
They're all variant humans. No, rumor says that the line of the Farseers themselves, so this is the King Just and his line, are slightly different. That they mingled their blood with those called the elderlings long ago. And so they have a unique bloodline. First of all, there is a tendency for unusual talents or skills to bloom up within their line, usually related to seeing afar or seeing the future or etc. Hence the Farseer name. But also they tend to live a little longer. About 120 years.
Right, so that's kind of where I was going at, because like obviously we're seeing that he's a lot more aged than what his actual age is due to overusing this gift he has. But there's nothing to say that A, it's killing him, and B, he doesn't seemingly actually see the future, right? He just sees things that are currently happening.
He gets images and hazy visions of that which he's trying to see. Whether he sees the future or the past, he's not the future or the current. He's not 100% sure. But he saw the boat arrive before it did, which implies that. But whether he saw the boat coming or whether he saw, so he didn't see the boat like arrive at the docks, and he saw it in the night. So it may even have been the night that it took the hostages. So he may have been seeing what was current. He may have been seeing what was future.
Did he see his sister get kidnapped? I'm not saying anything because he has middle child syndrome.
Well, he's on his way down from the toilet. Do you want to ask?
Not particularly. I don't want to be dragged into this drama business.
This is just gossip.
He looks at you all and, oh, good lunch.
Yeah, it looks delicious.
I don't have much of an appetite these days, but I'll do my best. And he takes a sort of small bites.
As he comes back in, and Luca kind of panics, hoping that he didn't hear what they were saying. He just kind of like looks around and says, "It's very warm out. At least it's a dry heat."
Yes. I suppose. Have you need of assistance in traveling to my mother? Do you need horses, for example?
No, we have a
Carriage or
ship.
something? I see. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, whose boat?
On keg, right?
Good man. Well, he is now. He used to take me and Shiv out when we were fairly young and tell us tales of travelling on the seas that, or if they were true, but they were awful. I haven't thought of that in a long time. It's a good man. It's a good man. Give my love to my mother. I'm sure we'll see each other at court soon. I don't want to spoil your meat with my talk. Enjoy your meal.
Man, this guy is so down in the dumps.
Well, he sort of turns, and you notice that, like, he's almost desperate to get to this pool of water in the middle of the table. Like, you can see, like, he's reluctant to go near it because he knows what it's doing to him, but there's also some part of him that really wants to. Like, immediately, Kai, you get this sort of insight that it's almost like an addiction. Like, he's stayed away for as long as he can, and then he sort of, his hands move onto it before his eyes do. He's touching it, almost caressing the bowl. And then he, enjoy your meal. His eyes begin to glaze over as he looks into the water. He's barely touched his lunch.
So we're seeing him in the process of his scrying?
Well, he's just seems to be eyes glazed, staring at the water.
Oh.
What a
Don't
time
see
to
anything
not have
happen on
detect
the water.
thoughts.
Doesn't Kai have that?
Yeah, but like it's so obvious if I guess.
Is it?
He seems pretty
Yeah,
distracted.
with your insight, you know he is paying no attention to you whatsoever.
Well, if I can tell that, yeah, then I will detect thoughts.
Yes.
And I'm assuming you're focusing on him, obviously. So you see that he is picturing his coast, the coast, but he pictures it as if he's looking at a map. And you notice it's very specifically, it's a parchment map that's drawn with a very steady hand, very straight lines, very well drawn out. And he follows the coastline along, and then each time he goes along the coast, he pictures what he's seen of that coast in the real world. And then he returns to the parchment map, and then he continues along the coast and pictures the map and then the real view he's had of it. And there are stretches where he can't remember the exact real view, so he just focuses on the map. But you can see he's basically guiding his mind up and down the coast. And a couple of times you see this sort of cloudy fog. Like he's trying to stare through cloudy fog that he can't see through. And then he's back to his map and the coast. And the coast and the map. It carries on for, I don't know, at least a minute. Detect thoughts is 10 or an hour?
1 minute.
1 minute, yeah.
Oh no.
So it carries on for the whole minute. Just him focusing up and down. I'll say that you could, you're sort of able to stretch it out a little bit because you're not focusing very hard on it. You're able to see this for a couple of minutes. Nothing changes. He's got incredible focus while doing it. But doesn't seem to be seeing anything that you see.
Where were these foggy areas exactly?
There weren't. So he was seeing like coast and map and coast and map and coast and map, and then occasionally it's instead changed to this image of just like a whole, like his whole mind was fog. Like he was trying to peer through fog. Was it?
Okay. So it's not like a certain area is being protected. Okay.
No. It's just him trying to sort of see something, basically. After a few minutes, there's a knock at the door. He doesn't stir.
I'll get it.
Okay. Standing outside the door is Burrick, the man that was sent to get the messenger. He sort of looks. Oh, sorry. Oh, he's doing that again, is he?
Yeah.
I'll send Sharon.
Good idea.
Do you need mounts?
Do we?
To get back
No,
to
right?
the
We're
boat?
going. Oh,
So
yeah,
yours
we
are
had
tied
some.
up at front.
Oh no, we
house.
delivered those. Yes, we need new horses. You're
We
right.
need horses, like actual horses. One to carry Galthak as well. He walked
Is
in like an
Galthak-
hour and a half after you guys. Like,
Galthak just got
pissed
here.
off as hell with a mule that wouldn't behave itself for the whole damn journey. And no one to talk to, and he's just wandered in. He sort of parted through the town. Nobody told him where you guys were. He was searching all around. He sort of came in just in time to eat the lamb, and then Burke's like, "Do you need horses?" And you guys were like, and Galthak's like, "Yes." And yeah, Burek was sort of, "Look at you. Very well. I'll have some horses secured. 5?"
Yeah.
3 would be fine, I think.
3 is excellent. Very good. Did he? He hesitates. Did you speak to him about it? That?
I don't
He
think he
seems-
can be convinced.
Yeah, he seems pretty set on this this course of action.
He's always been a loyal son. I wish my lord was here to tell him otherwise. It's not worth his life. I mean, it is if it saves the people, don't get me wrong, but it's a poor way to see a friend expend himself.
He said he'll be heading to Valeris soon, yes?
The day after tomorrow. Though my lord will not be there to argue for him.
Say again? Who's not
So
gonna
this
be
is
there?
Burek, and if you were told earlier that Burek is chivalry's man, so Verity's older brother's man. So when he says my lord's not there to tell him otherwise, he's talking about his lord chivalry. He's the king in waiting.
Where is chivalry?
Scrandia. Or the border. He negotiates for a peace treaty while we have troubles on our coast.
Not a bad idea.
You think there's a chance of that actually happening?
If there's a chance, chivalry will make it work. I've stayed too long. Sorry. And he sort of heads off, and shortly afterwards, Sharon will come over, and I understand that you've done what you could. I didn't think you'd be able to convince him, but it was worth asking. He's a dutiful son. Was your lunch okay?
Galthak ate most of it, so it must have been delicious.
Well, I understand that the mounts that wait for you at the stables outside the city will take you back to the boat when you're ready. Safe travels. If you... 'Tis not a servant's place to say, but I've served Lord Verity for many years. If you speak to his father, tell him how he is. How he truly is. He puts on a brave face for his father, shows himself as better than he is.
Absolutely.
And with that, Sharam sort of bows elegantly to you and leaves you to make your way back to the boat.
All right.
Do you
Would
have
we move
anything
faster?
particular you wish to do in Highdowns? You don't have any need to replenish anything. Nobody's missing like spell components, or is desperate for a wooden stick or something. I don't know. You never know with D&D players. Like sometimes they want to do the most random shit. Like, you know what? We need a chicken. We need a chicken. You know.
Well,
If you do need a chicken, now's the time to buy it. If not, you can head back to the boat. And
Yeah.
Ankeg will look at you relieved and wave as you arrive. And That was a good day. It's been a while. So, you wanted to go to Carve, is that correct?
Yes.
I am all yours.
Did we drop off the soldiers here also?
Yeah.
Okay.
The 6 soldiers will make their way with Verity's entourage. Wilson included. So as you head down the coast to Carve, Pancake sort of looks at you. If you don't mind me saying, why Carve? We're all eager to know what's being done. I'm not told much, I just ferry more important people up and down the coast. I had a sister and she's in Shale. She heads inland looking to move in with her cousin. Away from the coast. We've all got family on the coast. Is something happening at Carve?
That was the town where we paid the money, right?
Yeah, and he knows what's happened in the past at Carve. He's wondering if something new is happening, something proactive to protect people.
Got it.
Do they launch boats? Are they building castles? Are they sheltering the people? What's the plan?
A little of all of those, I think, right?
So they're doing something?
As much as we can.
The people don't see it, you know. They see soldiers marching past their villages. They see their wood and stone commandeered to be taken out to the islands, but the Queen's a good woman. What she's doing makes a difference. Reassuring the folk, being there, bleeding alongside them. Just a sorry pirate who was down in his luck, but it matters to these folk, you know. They're good folk, the village folk. They don't deserve to suffer. Right. We'll be there within the hour. And sure enough, within an hour, you rock up into Carve. And Carve's a bugger of a place to dock at, because there is, of course, a large dragon in the. Oh, big sad. Yeah, I had that moment. We've had that moment already. Yeah, big sad music. Good sad music. That's the one. Yeah, it's already happened. They're all dead. We know. Yeah, big sad. Boo-hoo. Go back to playing some normal, peaceful music. It's a difficult place to dock. There's shallow rocks all the way into town. And so the boat sort of tethers to the statue of the dragon. As you pull up near the dragon, Luca, give me a perception check. It's not alive. Spoiler alert. It's not real.
I get it.
Just letting you know, just in case that's what you thought was going to happen.
10 nat 20 for a 30.
Jesus Christ.
You see a wooden arrow, the shaft of a wooden arrow, piercing from the breast of the dragon, from the black stone.
If I take it out, will the dragon become alive?
You don't think so. But you're not close enough.
But I don't know, so I will.
You're not close enough to touch it. You're 50 foot docked on an anchor out away from the boat. You're sort of over here, right?
How far, sorry?
I don't know, like 50 foot. You're kind of here.
I have a 40-foot swimming speed. I'll jump in.
Okay, you're going to swim up to the island.
What?
Luca?
Ancake turns to you all and he'll be back soon. Catches a lot of people off guard. It's a real arrow, you know. Many have tried to pull it out. It could be snapped, I guess, but it's made of a wood that seems stronger than any other. would we know of the wood? According to some magic users, crackles as if it's almost alive. I don't know, I've been there myself, put my hand on it, tried to break it. He'll be back.
Am I about to have my King Arthur moment?
Maybe. But
Yes.
But you're one of the tens of thousands that tried before the guy that pulled it out.
As did Arthur.
Anyway, so yeah, you arrive at this dragon. It stands about 80 foot tall, and about 25 foot wide, and its chest sits about 50 foot up from you. What are you doing?
I'm kind of like in awe of this statue. You know, kind of like got my hand running along it as I walk around it.
So, as you run your hand along it, you'll see that the black stone, it doesn't reflect the sunlight like you would expect. It's like it contains darkness almost. It's pitch black. And it's not just stone, it's been carved into the most beautiful of every single individual scale. It has been carefully carved with extreme detail.
Because it's not stone. Unless it is stone, maybe the dragon was petrified. Also, if it's black, it's an acid dragon.
Well,
I know my dragon.
You have seen these black stones before. This black stone before. You've seen it in what is known as the Witness Stones of Valaris. The Witness Stones are an old tradition that date back long, long before Valaris, the city itself. But you'd have heard it as sort of like somebody being dragged before the Witness Stones, and if a man defeats another man with his fists in regards to a dispute in front of the Witness Stones, it says that the gods have witnessed and that man speaks the truth. People also get married in front of them and stuff. It's the same stone. It's
yeah, I will continue circling it until I get to the to look up to the point where the arrows.
Stands
Where in the dragon is it stabbed?
In its breast, almost to its heart.
How poetic. And is it like high above me?
50 feet.
Like 50 foot. So I'll have to
10 U's.
Yeah, I've got a 40-foot climbing spell. I climb up there.
Give me an acrobatics check, see if you can climb up. It's smooth stone, so it's not easy. 36.
Nat 20 for 28.
Cool. Hey, you got nice dice. You should use the Halloween dice. Yeah, cool. You can you manage to clamber your way up and alongside. I think Vera's looking at you a bit confused as you sort of scrabbling like a flappy person. But eventually you do manage to sort of dangle down from its neck in front of this arrow, and you see this arrow is no arrow shot from a human bow or a natural bow. This arrow is approximately 1.5 foot in length, which is, it's big, and that's only half of it, right? The other half is in the dragon. It's made of this strange, grainy, silver-like wood, and the fletching on the arrow has long since been removed, leaving it with these thin bones of wood coming out of it that once contained feathers, but no longer do.
What does the arrow feel like? I'm gonna run my fingers across it.
Interesting. It looks like wood, but it feels almost like stone. It's sort of very solid and smoother than it should be, but as you touch it, you get a sort of reaction, almost like it responded to you. Like there was a spark or a moment or a connection of some sort, and then you get the impression that connection isn't for you, but it sort of feels like a little bit like other magic items you've touched that have been attuned to other people. Like they've got an energy in them, but that energy doesn't have any connection with you.
Can Vero touch it?
Vero can, though when he gets close, he doesn't want to. You can persuade him to do so.
I'm not gonna force him.
It makes him uncomfortable.
That's fine. As it probably should. He's, stood in front of a probably an old family friend that's been turned to stone.
Well, I have to, don't know. I don't want to give anything away, but I'm
Spoiler.
certainly not regarding Vero as a standard dragon, right? So that's all I'm going to say on that matter.
It's because he's magic.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I will like, and
You fall off
Plummet.
because you were dangling from its neck by your arms.
no,
So
I'm
when you
like-
did this, you were... I know what you mean.
like sat on his shoulder or something.
Yeah, that's fine. I just thought it was funny. Yeah, what are you going to do? You going to grab the arrow?
Yeah, James.
Okay, cool. You can swing from it. Ankek will remark to you, well, there he goes. Impressive that he got up there without a rope or anything. Usually people have to get lifted up or whatever, but yeah. You won't get it out. And indeed, you can hang there, you can yank it, you can twist it around, you can... I mean, it doesn't actually twist, but you try and twist it around. It's so smooth that your hands don't even feel sore from attempting to twist it, pull it, and yank it, but nothing happens at all.
I will twist it, bop it, smack it.
Yep. Do they
I
have
was
boppers in
gonna-
the US? Okay, I guess they
Yes,
do.
yes,
Yeah.
we have Bop It.
Just bop it. Crack
Um,
it.
Yeah, I guess if I'm not really getting anywhere, I'll climb back down and take one last look at it. Like, not the arrow, but like the whole thing.
Yeah, on your way back down, as you sort of connect with it, you almost make eye contact with the dragon. And for one fleeting second, it's as if the dragon's eyes were not made of black stone, but instead of swirling golden, endless, deep whirlpool. And then, I must have imagined it.
No. I was right. He's real. He's been Medusa'd.
Petrified.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't know
Yes.
if in D&D dragons are immune to petrify. Obviously, this story is not dependent on D&D rulings anyway, but I'm just curious. I don't know. Perhaps
That's
Vero knows.
practically a confirmation that he's been petrified.
As I said, I haven't based it on Dungeons and Dragons rulings, but yeah, it's perfectly. It could well be like it's so realistic, right? That it really could be, except it would be a weird stone for petrify.
I know what happened. The dragon was fighting the eyeless creature before it was eyeless, and the eyeless creature turned him into stone. But as the dragon was turned into stone, its last act was to swipe at the creature's eyes, and so it is now an eyeless creature, and the dragon is in stone.
What eyeless
Christ, the
creature?
case. Yeah, that the guy
Eyeless
saw
creature from
vision.
visions.
Yeah. Come on, James.
Oh
pay
right,
attention.
okay, no, maybe that's not the best description I've given. It's an a man-like creature, almost like a skeletal creature with sunken eye sockets is how I should describe it. As if the
Ooh.
eyes were missing from the sockets of their.
Yeah, missing because the dragon clawed them out.
Yeah, great. Dragon and man had a big fight. And one arrow won it. Anyway, you'll know all about winning a fight with one arrow. Ankek turns to the rest of you. Do you want to pick him up on the boat on the way into shore? We'll let a small
Perhaps.
yacht.
But there
yes.
is something I would like to do.
Yes.
Oh,
Are we on like a dinghy?
Well, he's just lowered down a sort of 8-person rowing boat to take you into shore. It looks exactly like one of those.
I will attempt it when we're on the rowboat.
Yep, so he lowers the boat down and he gestures and one of his men will row it in for you. Yeah, you're on the
How
boat.
big is the main ship?
The main ship.
Like width?
So this is the message that you're on Ankek's boat. It's a dual-masted boat. I'm gonna have to Google for numbers. 2-masted ship length. Let's have a look.
That's the one measurement that I don't need.
What, the length?
Or the height and the width.
Yes, but if I could get the length, I would know the rest. It's a 2-legged schooner rig. There we go. It's about... Do you want the height to include, like, the crow's nest?
No, just
Or, like, just
to the top of the deck.
top of the deck? Yeah, so it's about 25 feet up from sea to deck. And the width of the boat is about 40 feet. It's about 120 feet long. No, a bit longer than that, about 180 feet long.
Would the Raiders ship that we saw be bigger than this?
Yeah. Not by much. In fact, it would probably be slightly narrower, but maybe a tiny bit longer. And it may stand slightly higher in the water as it doesn't carry cargo, so it's not as deep slung and it's quicker on the water, right? It's narrow, it's sleek, and it's tall. But yeah, approximately, roughly the same size, I guess. About 30, 35 feet wide, sitting about 30 feet up from the water, and about 180, 200 feet in length. Did you want to try something?
With those measurements, I rescind my attempt.
What were you going to try?
What was the plan?
If it was smaller, I would have attempted a major image of the water with no ship on it.
Okay. That's an interesting thought. How big is major image?
20 foot by 20 foot.
20 foot cube?
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew it would take more than one casting, no matter what.
Does it allow for that cube to be shaped in other ways? Could it, for example, be a 10 by 40 foot cube? Well, that wouldn't be a cube, but you see what I mean. Or is it like does it say within a 20 by 20 foot cube?
No larger than a 20-foot cube.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. There's one of them, I think it's Programmed Illusion, that allows you to shape it how you please within that. Yeah, cool. No, but obviously, you would be able to perhaps block out part of the ship with the view of the water behind.
Yeah.
Does major image
less
move?
less likely the bigger it is.
Yeah. Does major image move?
Yes.
Okay.
I could probably major image our boat. A little dinghy that we're in
Easily.
right now.
Easily.
So there's just nothing now.
Well, depending on where. Yes, I mean, if you're major imaging over the entire boat, right? So that your boat is contained in the major image. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
And to all views and angles. Yeah, it requires a lot of concentration on your part because you're almost having to imagine two directions while looking in two directions, right? Because you're trying to do it from all four sides. And obviously you can't picture what's behind you, but it's water, right? So for the most part, it might look a little bit like the rocks aren't quite in the right place or it's shimmering slightly as the boat moves. But yeah, you're able to do it. And the sailor who's on the inside of the image, obviously is looking through it going, it's weird. Is there a fog today that's descending? Or is that you with your muttering?
I'm attempting an experiment.
When will you let the illusion drop?
I'll just give it a moment and drop it. 30 seconds.
Yeah, Luca, sorry. As you looked to the boat pretty much disappeared. There was as it moved, you were able to see like the wake of the boat, so the water that it leaves in its path as it travels. The movement of the oars giving ripples outwards that come out of the illusion. But the boat itself pretty much disappeared, and then reappeared all of a sudden. You will notice that some of the townsfolk who were at the shore getting ready to greet you are looking a little frightened and moving away. But other than that, you guys can get the boat into shore. You notice a woman standing on the shore, sort of looking up at you all. Do we have a picture of her? We do. Oh yeah, I remember. She's way too beautiful because finding an old queen picture was impossible. She's not this young.
Wowee.
She's in her late 40s, early 50s? No, late 50s, early 60s. Her hair is beginning to grey. So this was her like 20 years ago. It's the portrait that's on the wall. Honestly, if you search for old queen, you either get evil people or Queen Elizabeth in England. Your only two options. So finding art was impossible. But yeah, so she stood on the on the shore, and she recognizes Karina from a distance, and she sort of waves over, and you see that she's wearing like a peasant's smock with priceless jewels just above it. And she's wearing a glove on one hand, and she appears to be holding a hoe in the other hand. Not a woman, a stick with an implement for farming in her other hand. Yeah, look at this hoe I found. Sleeping
She's
around.
got hose.
She does got hose. Anyway, so she waves at you and, hey, what is it? Why are you coming in here? I thought you were down at near island making a tower, were you not?
We're done there, Your Majesty. Everything went well.
Oh, please, God, Your Majesty, me here. Look. And she sort of gestures down towards her smock, which is just covered in, like, mud and dirt. And it looks like something from the cooking and some flour. Please, call me Constance. Anyway, well, I believe lunch is nearly ready. Are you joining us?
Why not?
Yeah, so she's calling it lunch. It's definitely supper. It's like 8 o'clock in the evening.
Oh.
But regardless, I'm sort of... And you see that there are these 2 long tables that have been brought out from the inn and laid along the beach, where everybody in the town is being invited to eat. So, what brings you to Carve? My husband didn't send you, did he?
No. Right? We sent ourselves.
He sent quite enough soldiers to check on me. Anyone would think that I was more important in the entire country of Arvenia. Amount of protection I seem to need for my square footage. He smiles. Be that as it may, I'm perfectly safe. Thank you very much, unlike these people. Now, come on. I'd like you to meet some people. This is... this here is Hope. This is... no, it's not. It's not right. It is Hope. That was right. The next name is not that. This is the Lady Felicity. So this large lady sort of... I'm no lady. But thanks. Yeah. It's my sister Wendy. And this is Yala. And they start introducing to basically all the townspeople. You see that the Queen has been talking to the ladies. You see a young boy following the Queen round as she goes to sit down. He's about 11 years old. And once she starts serving up the food, she turns to him and, go on, Lionel, you can sit down. She looks at you. So, do you have news?
Not a lot. We heard you were leaving Forge, so frankly, I at least just wanted an update on the people.
Devastated. It's difficult, you know. The folk here... Perhaps we should speak somewhere more quiet. Let me just finish serving lunch. And you see she's actually doing the serving, right? She's pouring out soup bowls and stuff. And once she's finished serving, and she sort of gives you each a meager portion, slightly less than what she's given the townsfolk. I'm sure Galthok will complain, but she'll tell him off anyway. She gestures towards one of the homes. And the Lady Felicity has kindly allowed me to use her home. Would you join me? And she brings you into a warm kitchen where she sort of very familiarly sort of puts the kettle on the stove and turns to you all. And would you like tea?
That would be great, actually.
I'll get that on. So, sorry, you were saying the folk at Forge, yes. It's terrible, really. You see, the thing is that the folk at Carve are far better off, actually, themselves. It is easier to cope with something you can move past, you know? They have had a tragedy dealt to them, and they are sad, bitterly sad. It has brought them together, you know? They each look out for each other, those that have lost. The young boy Lionel, he lost both his parents, but many people are caring for him. They can move past this. It's over. It's done. It's sad, it's a tragedy, but they'll rebuild. The folk of Forge? Not so much. They are disheartened, broken. They fight with their sons, their daughters. Their own children, their own mothers, turn from them, and steal from them, and hurt them. Some find it difficult to keep their own folk in chains, and have suffered because of it. One woman was beaten quite badly. By a man who was once her brother. Because she wouldn't let him out, in case he hurt someone else. It is difficult there. I met them, many of them, these forged, as they call them. They did not recognize me for my title or authority, but they also didn't recognize me for a woman who brought them food and care and love. Nothing. They would eagerly snatch the food from my hands and demand immediately the cloak upon my back, or the pretty jewels around my throat, or anything else that they wanted. But no matter what, they were not sated. They ate all the food in one go like gluttons, and then demanded more immediately. Even though some of them were told they would only get one amount of food for a whole day. It was more than enough for a day, and good rations. They would eat it all in one go until they were sick, and then they would stuff in more. And then they would go hungry for the rest of the day. Less than animals.
These solos are obsessed with cloaks.
It's just an easy thing to say for me. It could be anything, right? It could be robes, cloaks, scarves, hats, gloves, boots, whatever. It's just, it's
Scarves would be more interesting.
Yeah. It's just the first thing that comes to mind. So you have seen them want more than just cloaks. I promise. It's just a point of saying like they want whatever you have.
It's not a retail store, and we're being assholes.
No, they just want anything and everything that comes to mind at any given time. Do you go to visit them yourself? For what it's worth, I don't think you'll be able to help, though I know nothing of your magics. And she gestures towards a couple of you. But we have priests there and healers alike.
Is it fair to say, I don't remember if we actually did say or not, but I would have mentioned the survivors who came in from, I think it was Appleby?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, if you remember,
rounding them up.
Discretion arranged for the majority of them to be brought back to Valaris, where he would, to put it bluntly, basically experiment on them in a nice way. He was going to, some he would treat with love and kindness, but basically try and work out if there was any way that they could make them better.
Was that the town where we found Capet?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
She doesn't react in any way if you mention Appleby, if that's what you're looking for.
No. I was just trying to remember what had happened.
Okay, yeah. But in general, she doesn't react to Appleby, and she has heard that Discretion rounded them up quite quickly and had them delivered to a place a little way outside of Valaris, a small town where a few guards were looking after them. So, do you make further plans?
At the moment, we're sort of
Lucas
trying
wanted to
to
make sure
decide.
she wasn't being kidnapped.
Yeah.
There is an irrational number of soldiers in Karv, considering they've already been raided, and how many villages there are. There's about the same number of soldiers. The king has clearly overspent resources trying to protect her. But he hasn't demanded she comes home.
If the pie does go see the Solus, Luca will not join.
No, that's fine. I don't think there was any plan to do so anyway. She was just asking.
But for Luca, he doesn't really... He agrees with the queen. He doesn't think anything will come of going to seize them, so he doesn't see the point.
You think it better that they die rather than...
No, I don't. But the villagers will. This is what my king doesn't see. The demand on the resources. People die in war, Karina. People don't turn our allies against us in war. Our friends, our family members. I'm not saying we should pay the money. That would be giving in, surrendering to defeat. But we have suffered the casualties either way. And eventually, it'll break them. Not those that returned, but their loved ones. That is what I see. That's what I think.
Perhaps the system should be set up where townsfolk are switched.
Would
So that
you
it's not
leave
their
your
own.
brother or your father behind if you thought that there was a chance you could get through to them? You would fight every day, would you not? The people of Forge won't be separated from their family members. There's nothing funny about the situation, but Michaela's cat is hilarious. Sorry.
So annoying.
He's just like, please, hello.
Yeah, a big casual stretch trying to make me notice. Go away.
Yeah, she's sort of honestly, I can't keep her accent up for much longer, but she basically, although she thinks that paying the money would be giving in, and she also thinks that these people are just at least the town of Carve will recover. She doesn't think Forge ever will. She looks to you and asks you again if you have any plans or ideas of where you wish to go, or if you have something you wish to do here. I'll let you guys have a little think. Take a short break. Oh, are you?
Uh-oh.
She's waving like mad, and we're back. Welcome back to the second half of our video. You were boating it. No, you weren't boating it anywhere. You were finishing chatting away at Carve to the lovely Queen Constance. You of news to give her. Have you told her much? You haven't really told her much, have you? You just
I
said
don't think we would have told her everything of the
What
tower.
would she be interested in knowing?
Well, unless you're going to speak to her Verity, her son. Nothing particularly.
Oh, we should ask her about that, guys.
Can if you want.
I hadn't brought it up. It's up to you.
I am curious about her perspective.
How would you
I dare
raise
you
that
to.
question?
No, hi, you bring it up. You're more diplomatic. I messaged to Kai. Ask her about Verity.
I love it. You're all sat around for this sort of tea in this little shabby home, and like she's trying to be all casual, and you're just sitting there going,
Because I'll say it wrong and upset her.
Kai, as this little gnome sort of elbows your thigh. How are you gonna break it to her?
We just visited your son Verity.
Oh. Is he well?
He could be doing better.
Quite. My husband and I have disagreed on the best method of treatment for Verity.
Treatment?
The best. I sound like my husband. He is not a resource to be expended, he is my son. But we must spend him as wisely as possible because of that. And spending him on alliance with the mountain people is quite the same as spending him on this scrying. But just he wants both. And so he does. He gambles our son to see the next raid before it happens. I don't like it. But I can see the reason.
So unpredictable.
What doesn't seem unpredictable, dear?
His visions seem unpredictable.
They are. Very much
There's
so.
no guarantee that he'll see anything before it happens.
The agreement I have wrung from my husband is that when the next raid happens, if Verity doesn't see it and warn us before it happens, then we will stop expending him like this. But till then, my husband will have his way.
I think that's a bad deal, honestly.
Has his powers helped yet?
No. Well, what do you mean?
I was gonna say, like
So I just more mean they're saying, basically, unless he fails to help, then we won't stop getting him to use his powers. I'm more asking, well, so far, has his powers helped? Because if not, then you're, kind of abusing him for no reason.
So, he saw the raiding boat coming before the very first raid, right? At Cove, where you are now. But he didn't see it in enough time or in a manner that was attainable for it to... Because he wasn't at the castle, right? So he wasn't close. He was at Iskrandi with his brother, which is a long, long way away, a week's travel. And he did see it before it happened, or he thinks it's before it happened. The count of days is a bit shifty-shapy. But the idea is that now he's given the infrastructure of like wizards to contact at the different towers, and he's focusing on those visions and nothing else. If he doesn't see the next raid before it happens and is able to give useful warning, then he will stop being expended in that way. Obviously, the terrifying thing is that there could never be a raid again. And we're expending my son for nothing. But he says he sees the raiders, though they are at sea. He did tell you as well, right? He sees them on their boats rowing like that, etc., etc., yada yada. He sees glimpses of an enemy, yada yada.
Even if he does see them, there's no guarantee he'll know where they are.
Well, in that we are served well by his many years of soldiering. He has ridden these coasts 1,000 times over on boat and horse. He knows them well, and he draws a fair map. He loves his maps, says my son. Says they are the key to soldiering. Marked boundaries. He'd have been a good soldier in peacetime or in wartime. But this is no traditional war, if war it is.
has his powers ever been used in this way before, trying to see something specific?
Yes, as a child, my husband expended him ruthlessly in the border skirmishes with Iskrandi.
Did that work out well? Was he actually able to see and help?
The advantages he gained us were incomparable. They won us much land at the expense of my son's childhood.
Do your other children have the foresight?
From what I understand, the Farseers, their talents and powers manifest differently. Some like this, like Verity. Some simple, what others might just call blessings, or even normal. My husband, for example, has the ability to always see the whole picture and to expend his resources and manage his every different thread all at the same time. He always has great perspective and great understanding. He's wise. Is that a hereditary talent or simply the way he was trained? Who can say? Chivalry has great skill in diplomacy. He understands every perspective on a problem. Is that a magic, a gift of his blood? Or the way he was trained? His first blood? Grace. The soldiers that train her in the art of the sword think she may have a brief element of farsight, but momentary. She often reacts to a blow in coming towards her before it has hit her. Like an instinctive farsight.
Mm.
So yes, I believe that all of the Farseers are talented in some way.
Lovely weather.
Those of you who might have missed something, she just only named 3 of her 4 children.
Oh, I was waiting for her to go to the other one.
She went down in age order and just skipped over Regal straight up.
Oh. What about Prince Regal?
What of him?
Does he have one of these gifts?
He's a bastard. That's why she
Insight
doesn't
check.
like him.
You could, but she is going to speak. Regal is of the Farseer line, that much is sure. Though I'm afraid he has manifested little talent other than for mischief, trouble, and partying with his friends. He speaks a fair tongue, and he's pretty enough, I suppose. But Regal might be his name, but his nature is far more interested in what the crown brings him than in what he brings the people.
I'm calling it now. He's Jon Snow and she's Catelyn Stark. And that is why she don't like him.
Nah, he's like a royal fop. He's a dandy.
She sort of gives a wry grimace, and there were a couple of years where my husband and I were parted. Grace is mine, as are Regal and as are Chivalry and Verity.
But you brought Regal in as your own, even though...
It is known in the inland duchies that Regal belongs to Lady Desire. Or, as she is known there, Queen Desire. But she is not my husband's wife.
This is so crazy.
She would sort of look at you at this moment and hesitate a little bit, and I suppose you'll find out anyway. My husband didn't... He wasn't unfaithful.
Oh, well, yeah, if you were on a break.
She smiles at you.
Yep.
He thought me dead. It is for this reason that he is so protective now.
Oh.
What could have...
In the border wars long ago in Ascrandia, a hostage was demanded. I gave myself. After a while, they sent a cruel-fashioned image of my head. After he thought me dead, after a year or 2, he began to forge a new alliance, as the king would. I was in Ascrandia for 7 years. I was rescued by a pirate, if you'll believe it. An accident of fate, but pleasant one. I believe you've met him. And she sort of gestures towards the boat at sea. Ancake. What have I missed? Come on. What have I missed? What have I said by mistake?
We're just making friends goofs.
Yeah. Oh, okay, because it was on a break. Yeah, okay. I did get that when you said it, but I thought we were past that. Oh, I see, yes.
Nope.
I see. We have teams.
I kept going.
Okay, hold
For
on.
what it's
Rewind.
worth,
She
I
said
wanted
this.
Rachel. Anyway.
She said Ankeg was the pirate who did
Who rescued
this?
her. Yeah, so that's when he went straight, if you like.
I see.
He pulled himself down on his luck. You can assume that he broke out with her, basically.
Oh, okay.
To crowd, not knowing that she was a queen. But also, you've seen how Grace was living for a few months. Constance lived there for 7 years.
Ooh.
Anyway, that's enough of the family drama, I think. Regal was but a year old when I returned. It wasn't easy, but... I could accept him of my own if I was more proud. He's mean.
His mother.
Even as a child. His mother calls herself the Inland Queen. She believes that because her bloodlines are more royal than mine, her son should take the throne. Next should be King-in-Waiting. She rules at Tradeford and styles herself as the Inland Duchy, Inland Queen. She has little coast to protect. She is the Duchess there. Her first husband and her second died young. She has ties to Sandford and Clyde. In her worst days, when she is at both the smoke and the drink, she will claim that the inland duchies could break away from the outland duchies, and the coastal duchies, and be their own land. She was very bitter when my husband did not take her as a wife.
Is Regal aware of this?
Indeed. Very much so. He used to visit with his mother for summers. I'm afraid to say I had it stopped when he was 16. I thought it was corrupting the boy. Thought he should take some responsibility. I'm afraid since then he's only got worse. I shouldn't speak such ill of him. I have raised him as my own son, but sometimes I'm ashamed.
Luca really doesn't want to be a part of this conversation so badly, but personally, I just want to tell her that maybe living in a broken home maybe had an effect on how he turned out.
Yes.
Yeah, Luca's shiftily making eyes at everyone, trying to desperately change the conversation, not get wrapped up into this family drama.
I am living for the drama, and so is Winona. Okay.
What was I gonna detective notes out?
In her mind, she's making mental notes to write later. Don't be rude right now.
Karina would smack some people upside the head if they weren't royalty.
She sort of shrugs and... It's easy to be candid when we are surrounded with such familiarity and ease. Propriety of court has its purposes, I suppose. But I do wish my husband would ride out to see the people. That's what matters. The people. And how we're going to protect them. And you're not going to protect them by standing here having cold tea with me. So, come on. Off with it. Where are you planning on going? Are you back to the castle?
Yes.
I will stay another day or two. Be along. You may tell my husband this. I don't
okay.
need any more soldiers.
Are you sure? Not one more contingent? Just.
I've dispatched half of them to Yellstock and Harmons.
That's good.
Sent me 5 cohorts. That's half the coast we could be protecting.
Hmm.
Cohort is 24 soldiers. So
My
she sent in
God.
120 soldiers.
The king has been complaining this whole time they don't have enough soldiers.
And then he sent 120 to protect his wife.
They're
But when
all
you,
here. I
But
love
now,
this.
perhaps when you realize that he lost her for so long, you can understand why he's so desperate to like cling on to her.
Yes.
Anyway, so off with you. Go on. Tell him I'm just fine.
Will do. Constance.
When you exit the room, you will see that Lionel, the little boy, is playing just outside. He's sort of waiting for Queen Constance to come out. He sort of looks over at you all and looks a bit disappointed when it's just you lot.
I'd like to bag some slices of meat before we head out from lunch.
Yeah, absolutely fine. As you pass the table, you can grab some. There's some carved beef on the table. There's a couple of cows have been slaughtered for the feast.
I'll just take the platter.
Nobody seems to pay any mind. It's a shared feast, and there's more food than can possibly be eaten by the people there. That's absolutely fine. I'm assuming you have a dragon like riding on your shoulder anyway, so they probably work out what it's for.
He is always on my shoulder. I was actually thinking about this on the break. When Luca was swimming, I kind of imagined that Vera was like sat on his shoulder like he was at the nose of a speedboat.
Yeah, I had this image that sort of as the water sunk up over your shoulders, he just sort of stand on your head to avoid getting wet. Sort of like you're the boat.
He can't fly yet, right?
He can fly.
Oh, so Vero could have flown over to the thing? That's what I was like, why didn't you send him? Oh, okay, I guess he can't.
Oh, he can't? I thought he could fly.
Uh-oh.
No, not really. It says that at the next level, they then grow wings and grow large, but I don't like the idea of having a dragon that doesn't have wings. That seems...
No,
That's
because
just
then
a
if-
lizard.
Because then if it wants to... And if it wants to take to the skies, it has to sing Westlife as well.
Yeah,
It's all...
it's like an overgrown gecko.
Yeah, that's not
He's
how I had
got-
it with Shakara either. She had wings.
Yeah, that's fine.
They just grew
Anyway.
big enough eventually.
Yeah. To support the weight, and obviously, dragons are quite weighty creatures somewhat. Anyway, Luca's shoulder is, big and hench to carry such a weight. Regardless, as you go back out to Ankeg, he sort of looks at you all and... Did you find what you need?
Yes. The
She's
queen
quite-
seems well.
She's a character, isn't she? Strong mind. Strong woman.
A second there, I thought he was breaking the fourth wall. He's like, she's a character, isn't it? And we're like, yes, yeah, well, in the game.
So are you! No, he sort of,
In the end, aren't we all characters?
This guy is so self-aware.
yeah. It's like I knew her once of old. She was good to me. So, where to?
Valaris.
Very well. Valaris! He gestures towards the anchor man, pulls up the anchor and begins to turn the wheel. And as you head out and head in, you're able to pull up towards Valaris. Is that right? Maybe. There's either a king here or there's like some weird shit. Yeah, good. Okay, there's a king here. We're gooch. Had no idea what I was going to find. You have no idea what I'm talking about, do you?
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah. Bottom
We're
of
in the void.
I don't know, just lob yourselves somewhere. There will do or something.
Whee!
Great.
I'm scrolling.
Yeah, cool. Cool.
Oh.
Yeah, you can just, it's just the castle. You can sort of, because we've been here plenty of times. We know our way around by now. Regardless, as you sort of dock in at the harbour, is this where you would immediately head, or would you have taken your time getting up to the castle? Obviously, I just need something to stick on the screen, but...
Well, I don't know. Wait, did Karina tell us about Kepit? I think
You
we
all
should check
went
in
with... You all had Kepit with you when you travelled.
You know of his existence.
Yeah, you've met
No,
him.
but I mean about his big secret. Wasn't Karina the one
Oh.
who figured that out?
I don't think so.
Oh,
If only she knows, then I wouldn't care to check on this kid.
yeah, I don't remember if I've said anything to anybody.
You can choose now if you want to have said anything or not.
You don't have to.
No, I did, because I pulled out his ring at the campfire on our way back to Valaris the first time. So yes, you do know.
Cool. We're stopping by Mrs. Higgs.
I think perhaps we should talk to the king first.
Okay.
There's something that I haven't mentioned, which I know you guys are off to Skeld, and I think I might stay here.
You're breaking up with us?
Oh my gosh.
It's just a break.
So we can see other wizards during this time.
You can go to the other one. Go pick up Dirk.
Well, Karina, what?
Do you know the absolute irony is that you are going to take another wizard with you when you go?
Oh my god, yes!
Just so that you can communicate with Karina. It's the only reason.
Perfect.
Anyway, so you're headed to the castle first. You're not headed to Kemet, and Karina has told you that if you guys go somewhere, because right now there was no decision of going to Skeld, right? It's just if you guys go somewhere, then she will hang back.
Yeah. Is there?
If you don't mind me DMing, sort of shoving my oar in here, it might be better to have that discussion after you find out where you're going next, because it is a find out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shall we go see the king?
Well, what you should do is go to bed.
Wow.
You arrive at sort of 1:30 in the morning, at Valaris, and you can go home and get a rest. Karina, Mrs.
No, I think we
Higgs
go see the king right now, this second. Just
Good, damn,
Wake him up.
Get
barge
bitch.
in.
Your son is needed at all hours. Why are you not needed at all hours? God's sake, I think you can keep a schedule, man. Anyway, Mrs. Higgs will inform you that Kepit is kept well. Yeah. She sort of mentions that the tutor you'd required turned up yesterday morning, actually. Took a while to come down the river. But they seem to get along well. The boy's inquisitive. But he seems to keep himself to himself. He's a good kid.
I'm glad to hear it. Might we have a guest room or two prepared? Or three? No, Luca has a residence. It's only Kai who doesn't, right?
Yes, I have a house also. I'm gonna check on my camel.
Yep. I have nowhere.
That's a
I'll
choice.
get a guest room for Kai.
Yeah, there are guest rooms at the castle as well. If you needed somewhere to sleep, like, you can sleep at the castle always. I don't know, just go lie in the harbour. I don't know. Where do tridents sleep? The tridents just, like, lie in the sea.
Let's go dove in the ocean.
A little hammock under the water. Anyway, set up a random thought. Yeah, cool. You guys sleep. Following morning, we'll gather up. Guest rooms will be drawn up. She doesn't ask anything, obviously. She's a servant. She'll just do what she's told. And you guys are able to head to the king. The following morning, you will also see there... Oh, fucking... Excuse me. You'll also see First Councillor Erlen. And when you arrive, he is speaking to a messenger of some sort. The guards gesture for you to wait briefly, and then the messenger sort of leaves and slams the door shut behind him and storms past you. And you see Councillor Erlen is sort of stood up, Not like they were having a fight, but like he stood up and he looks a little red in the face. The king is sat quite calmly. See? Yeah.
What was his problem?
Seemed like a very productive conversation.
It was quite a... The king sort of puts his hand up. It was, though. It was difficult. He seeks shelter for his village. And we have
And?
provided. But not in Valaris.
Where at?
That place, a little to the southwest. Eastcliff. No, not Eastcliff. That's on the coast. Mesa. It's inland. Anyway. Welcome back. What news? Alan, sit down. You're making the place messy. And Alan will go and sit in his little seat back there. That's the thing. Hand over to you. What news?
Oh.
The Queen is fine and will be returning soon, and please stop sending more soldiers.
If I didn't know that she would have
Although she
dispatched
did not,
at least
she
half
did
of
not
them.
say please.
No, I imagine she didn't. If I didn't know that she would have at least got rid of half of them, I would have sent only half. But regardless, she's doing all right, is she?
She's just fine.
Good. Chivalry should be back in a few days. Verity in the morning, I believe, sometime today.
That son, not so fine.
He looks sort of tired, a little older, sad. He looks down at the ground and he looks up. No, I imagine he's not doing so well. Has he seen?
Nothing concrete that we can act upon.
But more than anyone else, right?
More than nothing.
Was Sharon with him?
Yeah.
At least he's looked after. One moment, please. Alan, would you send word to discretion? The new alchemist will need to see to Verity when he arrives. Looks back at you. So, visited my wife and my son. What of the raiders?
Oh.
There was news that there was a fight at Near Island. I assume that
Yes.
you're all okay?
They had taken the tower and we took it back.
Does he have a name, the court mage? He does have a name, right? Jera. Jera was able to make contact with Dirk yesterday. We understand the building goes well. But I'm glad you're okay. Well, I'm glad you were there. What were they like?
Well,
Did they
they seem...
coordinated?
You could say that. They seem to be sort of forged themselves to some extent. They would
They were
fight...
mindless?
Yeah, mindless fighting, killing machines.
Some of them.
Great. Some of them mindless, some of them not. Were I to want perfect soldiers, they would be able to think of nothing but the battle at hand, right?
Exactly.
Perfect soldiers, perfect command. Coordinated. People disappearing in the night. Duck said something about invisible boats.
Yes, they're quite skilled at illusion.
Perhaps they can imagine a better place to go. Leave us alone. Do we have any thought as to where they might strike next? Do you need a map for that? Sorry. I'll throw you a map just in case it's helpful.
I mean, do we
I don't know.
have anything to go off of?
My guess is shale.
Yes,
You think they're just going up?
that would be most logical, right? Or one of the villages on the way. It's where we've got the highest density of soldiers. And we've also, at Yellstock and Harmon's, the other side of Alaris.
Enemies don't seem to think logically. If it were me, I would assume that our enemy would have followed our pattern and I would go somewhere else, but they're unpredictable.
Even by being predictable, that would be unpredictable. How do you fight that which you can't see? You don't understand. What do they want? What do they want? They took nothing of worth. In Earthen, discretion said they took no jewels, no money. They burnt homes to the ground and burnt grain stores, but they left gold and weapons. What sense? Discretion has done what he can with the Forged. He has physicked them, drugged them, woken them, showered them with gifts, given them.
Did he say drug them?
He's got 25 forged people from Earth, and he's determined to experiment on them in every way possible to find out if there's a.
Did we approve this?
Nope. But he also,
Okay.
but you didn't know of it. He didn't ask for your approval. The king finds it distasteful, but it's 25
I mean,
people, right? Try and find a solution. Do everything you can. Worst comes to the worst, you'll cut their brains open, see what's inside. No, you won't really. But still. Yeah, he said essentially. Discretion has done everything, but found nothing. They want. Is that not what it comes down to? People don't invade for nothing, do they? This came back. And he retrieves a sort of scroll and hands it over to Karina. It's basically a little bit of an expansion on the story of King Wisdom. It's found from an old book that was being stored at the library in Mesa. And it speaks of the Solar, the Elderlings as the Solar. That's how they're referred to.
Has the guy who's been experimenting on them, has he tried giving them what they want?
Yeah. He showered them with gifts and things they've asked for and all sorts. He's tried
And
absolutely
then
everything.
And then they still want what?
Well, it was like the Queen said, they just gluttonize, right? So they do everything, they get everything they want, and they still just want, and even when they've got everything they want, they will eat until they're sick, and etc., etc., and then, yeah. And then
So
continue
if,
on
say,
with the
one of them really, really wanted to go to the Sorcerer's Isle, what would happen in that instant?
Have to wait and find out. How would they know of the Sorcerer's Isle? What is this Sorcerer's Isle you speak of?
I read it in a book.
How did you?
Yeah. It was called Harry Potter and the Children of Alulalu.
Children of
Oh,
Lulu!
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Children of Alulalu.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, the scroll tells you of the Solas, and how they rid the coast of vermin,
Oh my god.
ending the thefts of mines. That is all you get told. But
So the
it's
Solus and the Elderlings are the same.
it looks that way. Not 100% sure. It looks like it might be. And in terms of where, there is a sort of... Excuse me. Oh. There is an indication that they are far west, northwest, something like that. Long past the Mountain Kingdom is the indication given. Where that is.
Like, way off the map? Way off the
Yeah,
map?
like
or...
west past, like the Mountain Kingdom sort of ends here, right? Up on the northwest point. So past that to somewhere, right? You know not what is in those lands to the west.
What did it say was over there?
That's where these Solas or Elderlings were.
Ah. Well,
Oh, boys and girls, the
that is very cryptic as before.
It's all cryptic. Which way to turn, what to do next. So many strands. At this point, a messenger sort of comes charging into the room. Sir, it's your son! He comes riding as fast as he can. He says you're to mobilize.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah. He says you're to put out boat and soldiers and to make contact with Ferriston. The village to the north is to be raided. Or has been raided or is being raided.
this is from Verity, I presume.
And the village in question is called Shelton. Shelton. And it is here. Let's put a little name on it. Right. Yep. So after a couple of minutes, sort of another rider arrives and says that Verity is mobilizing in the harbour at Valaris. We'll be sailing. Court Mage Geras says that he will provide his best young wizard for the journey. And a sort of fairly serious looking young man, perhaps 18, 19, half elven. So that sort of comes and he's trying to carry a lot of books.
If he ends up being a transmutation wizard,
Who knows?
I'm gonna
Who
be
knows?
annoyed. It's like the worst subclass.
He's trying to carry a lot of books. That's all you know. And eventually, a sort of a servant helps him, and the king looks at you all and. What do you think?
Well, he's no Karina.
We should head there immediately.
Karina, would you stay here and be my contact?
There's a lot of research to be done, and a lot to be done in town.
Yes.
I want to go with you all, but I can't.
Jera sort of looks at you and always had more stamina for magic than I. Perhaps you'll be able to help me with some of the more difficult tasks. Like the sendings. Will you go by boat? Okay, looks at you all. It's the fastest way. It's also the way that Verity the Prince is going.
Oh,
And
then
speaking of
absolutely.
Verity the Prince, he kind of strides on in to the castle hall, and you can see he looks like he's regained some vigor. And he looks a little better than he was just about 36 hours ago. Not because he's healthier, but because he seems happier to be going where he wants to be instead of staring. You are right, Father. I saw it. 2 ships. And something else, like a curtain behind it. I couldn't see through it. They come at the dark. I recognized it as Shelton. They came around the edge of Cole. I believe we can get there in time. Though, those in Ferriston will need to mobilize immediately. I want to fight them! The king looks at his son. Send your best captain. And we will send these here. I want to go, Father. No. That is the last of it. Go and see Colgaren. Get yourself looked at. You're more important than leading a fight. Besides, he motions towards like Galfak. You guys, we have fighters.
Have we not received like a message from Dirk?
No.
So maybe this hasn't happened yet.
It's what you'd hope, and it wouldn't be Dirk anyway. Well, unless they'd sailed past near Island, right? It would be Cole. I've seen it. Verity and the king continue to argue. Verity determined that he will fight them as a man, and the king determined that he will put his skills to use, for if there has been one raid, there may be another. The court mage Jera is busy casting Sending, in the corner, contacting Ferris. But to the rest of you, it's to make your provisions and get down to the coast. Get down to the dock, where poor Ankeg and Message will take you back up the coast. Is there anything that Karina and the rest of you would like to discuss with each other before heading out?
I mean, take care. Try to help them decipher that stone tablet if at all possible between you and me. I think you might have a better shot at it.
Keep each other alive, please.
No. Of course.
But that'll be easy with our new transmutation wizard.
I'm gonna pull out my potion of healing that I never drank and hand it to Winona.
Thank you. You know I will need this.
Would your DM put them through a combat without you?
Yes.
Pretty much. I think so too. But with that, that is where we'll end. MVPs. Laura.
So when you said that the queen was standing there with the hoe, my only thought was a garden hoe, and I was like, yeah, that's perfectly normal. And then you went, not the woman. I was like, wait, why? Now all I could picture was her just with a
Yeah.
A
woman
floozy.
just.
A
The
floozy,
queen
that's
has a
good word,
girl
isn't
on each arm. Damn.
it? Yeah, I'll give you that. It was designed for that purpose. Josh.
Mine is the mystery of the ancient legendary battle of the Black Dragon, the once-eyed monster, now eyeless monster.
It's a niche piece of lore. That's interesting. You know, I'm for one, I'm very glad that you guys went back to Carve. Because obviously it wasn't appropriate to introduce that the first time around. Like, there's loads of dead bodies, like dead body parts floating into the sea. And by the way, there's an arrow in the guy in the statue. Didn't seem like the right tone to take, so I'm glad you went back.
I'm imagining Luca just like swinging from that arrow while there's just bodies everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad we did it on a different day. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. Jay.
When the queen was talking about her in the game and on the break thing, and the little friends reference, and we're all giggling about it. You just turn back like, what the fuck are you guys laughing at now?
I always think it's that I've unintentionally said something like that sounded wrong. And then it just turned out that you were still misbehaving.
We're still talking about events.
God, it's like, I just can't get you guys into order, you know. Michaela.
Yeah. First of all, the family drama is just so. I'm getting so into. It is not at all the main plot line, and we don't really have any business investigating their drama. Ooh, wait a minute. But yeah, well, it is now for Winona. I think she would like celebrity gossip. And also how awkward Luca was in the conversation with the royals, like talking about the weather. He's like, at least with the dry heat.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved the random weather references throughout. That was brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely liked the break references. That was great. But mostly, like, I love how different people are interested in different things. So, like, Luca was very interested in the dragon. The rest of you just sort of like, Luca, why are you swimming off? But then 5 minutes later, Luca's like, oh, for God's sake, why are we getting embroiled in this royal drama? And Winona's like, wait, did you say it was the second son or third? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Really? And what did she say? And what did he say? You know, going on, and like Winona must become the face of the party randomly. And then, like, I like how absolutely invested Jay was in Galthak arriving late in the city and coming and storming in angry with the mule and like being city, and like immediately sort of Jay was like, wait, what? What's this? You know, different people I think respond to different things, and I think the fun factor is definitely something that I need to remember to include in session. Obviously, we have the fun factors of silly things like breaks and stuff, but actually, for me, really seeing that the fun factor of like pointless, unimportant stuff, like Luca's dragon standing on his head like a speedboat. A speedboat knows, you know, these are important things in D&D, right? It's important to have a good laugh. So I hope you guys enjoyed session. We will be back next week. Unfortunately, Laura will not. Jamal may have recovered from his fractured eyebrow by then.
Good.
Returned. One in, one out, as they say. Laura's going on holiday. She's leaving us for 3 weeks. Which makes it sound really exotic, but you're actually only going for 2, right? You just happen to be going Friday to Friday to Friday, right?
Yeah, Friday to Friday.
Yeah, brutal. So yeah, it'll be a shame to go on without you, but we shall bravely and strongly. And we will miss you a lot more than Jamal. But on that note, we shall end. If you guys would like to say goodbye,
Goodbye.
Bye.
we shall see you soon.